Welcome back to the shed. I don't know what you've been getting up to, but I've been making cabinets. I admit they're not very pretty, but they are functional. Let's make a tool cabinet. The cabinet is going to go here, so this lot needs to come down. That looks about the right size. Let's measure it and make a plan. Here's the plan. It's a rectangle with some doors on it. Those doors are also rectangles. So the plan is to make 3 rectangles. That looks like it's going to take quite a bit of wood to make, so let's see what we've got in the shed. This is a list of the wood stock we've got. I think there's a cabinet in there, but to make sense of this lot, we're going to use an app on our phone called Cut List Optimizer. The app is really easy to use. First, we enter the sizes of the wood we've got into the stock sheets section. Since we've got different materials in the wood pile, it will be useful to add labels to the stock sheets to save confusion later. Look at that, we've added some numbers. We're back at the notebook now, looking at the design in a little more detail. The masking tape on the wall measures 900mm wide and 800mm tall, so let's start there. The outside of the cabinet is going to be made of OSB, which is 18mm thick. That means that this piece measures 900mm minus 2 times the thickness of the OSB. That gives us 864mm. The side bits are 800mm tall with no deductions, so that's 800mm. The depth of the cabinet is going to be 220mm, because that seems like a nice number. Back in the Cut List Optimizer app, we can add these measurements to our panels section. Don't forget to add labels. If we go to these options, we can set the width of our blade curve. This will let us get the most out of our wood stock when we're cutting it out. Okay, we're ready to calculate. Look at that, we've got more than enough OSB. I'm not against cutting dovetails into OSB, but to save time, let's just use screws instead. This lovely looking bit of plywood has a 45-degree bevel on it, and that fits in the middle and gets attached with more screws. Don't worry about that gap, we'll fill that later, maybe. This bit of plywood has a 45-degree bevel on it also, and it gets screwed to the wall. Look at that, it's a French cleat wall hanger. The measurements for the doors are in this notebook. They really should be in the Cut List app, so let's do that. Just like before, the measurements are entered, labels added, and calculate is hitted. Hitted? As if by magic, we've got some doors. Well, almost. To make the doors a little less see-through, let's add some 12mm ply measurements to the app and cut them out. Ta-da! Before we get too carried away with the screws again, these OSB pieces need grooves cut in them. We're over on the router table now. You might be thinking, that router table's a bit tall. In fact, it's quite the opposite. As long as the depth of cut and the fence are set correctly, it doesn't matter how short your router table is. Groovy. The 12mm ply fits perfectly into these grooves, and screws hold it all together. Obviously we made two of them, one for the left and one for the right. Doors will need hinges, and these piano hinges should do nicely. I'm sure fitting these hinges would be much easier if we did it on a workbench, but we're here now. The moment of truth. Time for the clamps to come off. Oh, I don't know what you were worried about. It's worth mentioning that this screwdriver is very loud and ear protection is a must. Another moment of truth. Do the doors close? Yes, they do. Next on the design list is some drawers. There's four of them. I found these bits of plywood, so let's use those for the drawers. Back in the cut list app, we can add the measurements and see if we've got enough to make 4 drawers. The drawer fronts are 306mm wide and 60mm tall. We need 8 of those since the backs are the same. The sides are 196mm by 60mm. We're going to need 8 of those too. The drawer bottoms are 292mm by 206mm, and we need 4 of those. And that's our cut list for the drawers. Let's cut some wood. And that's where it looks like all cut to size. We could screw them together now if we didn't have more stuff to do first. The first stuff we have to do is cut some rebates along the backs, fronts and sides. That'll give the base somewhere to go, like that. Or more specifically, like this. Those rebates are visible, but who cares? You won't see it once it's in the cabinet. Enough of that, we still got drawer stuff to do. My finger is roughly 20mm wide, but a 25mm hole will leave wiggle room. So, with a 28mm drill selected, we can make some holes in these drawer fronts. Hold on, let's be nice to our fingers and keep them out of the way of the drill. This solution isn't pretty or original, but it is functional. That theme should be obvious by now. No screws this time, just glue and clamps. Couple more clamps. We're back at the router table again, cutting more grooves in these drawer side bits. These are the parts for the drawer box. Before we glue it together, we should add the runners that are going to fit in the grooves we've just cut. Look at that! 4 drawers in a box that fit perfectly and certainly didn't need any sanding whatsoever. We've used glue and screws so far, so let's use a different method to attach this box to the cabinet. It's called gravity. What are these for? Well, these 4 have holes in them. And these 4 have magnets in them. Make sense now? What about if I told you that we take one of these and attached it to one of these with screws? Ringing any bells now? Yep, you guessed it. It's somewhere to keep drill bits. Although it would be a better use of space if we put some saws up there instead. Okay, let's put something here. At first glance, this might look like another idea for drill storage. It's not. Or is it? We're over at the bandsaw now to cut along these lines. There you go. While we're here, let's take this square out of my pocket and cut it into triangles. The triangles need some holes, and so does this thing. We can then attach the triangles to it with some screws. And the whole assembly can be screwed to the cabinet. Let's just put that back, shall we? Look at that, it's a mallet rack. Okay, let's fill this space next. We're going to need one of these and one of these. This bit is going to have some big holes in it. If you're following along at home, make sure to drill this hole in the wrong place. It'll make me feel less stupid. This bit is going to have some magnets. The holes are drilled, glue is added, and the magnets are pushed into place. To ensure the magnets are facing the right way, we can use something metal to press them into place. Wiping excess glue with a paper towel is a bad idea. Surprise, surprise, more screws. They have done a fantastic job of holding this top bit in place though. The bottom bit with the holes is attached using, not screws again, let's use dowels instead. This masking tape is going to be our drilling template. The dowel positions are marked and the tape is removed. The dowels are 10mm wide, which is lucky because so is this drill. And there should do it. What a nice place to keep chisels. This is what I've been using to store my hand planes. It's worked well, but we need to make room for this wonderful thing. That's easily done with this mallet. Some new dividers have been glued in place, and once there was 3 is now 4. The left-hand door now has 2 magnetic strips. That'll do nicely for the rest of these chisels. These 2 pieces of wood are now one thanks to some glue. Let's cut this to size at the bandsaw and glue it to the left-hand door. Oh look, that fits nicely. This space looks just right for a draw knife. And these blocks should stop it falling out. The right hand door is going to hold the marking and measuring stuff. It'd be nice to use another magnetic strip, so let's do that. This test tube holder will do the job of looking after some pens and that. There's still room to expand the collection. For instance, we can put these here. They were kindly donated by Brett and Sarah. Thank you very much. At the beginning of this video I made the point about workshop furniture only needing to be functional. But looking at the state of those drawers, I've changed my mind. Let's get the paint out and make it look pretty. While I'm painting this cabinet, I'd just like to take a moment to thank everybody who subscribed to the channel. We've recently passed the 2,000 mark, which is a number. I mean, it's not a million, but it's still appreciated. Thank you very much. And here's the final reveal. Look at that. Oh, I forgot to paint the drawers.